We went to jail?
Yes.
Claire, in Rhoda's memory, have a chocolate.
Yeah, you got it for, I think it's, you said 24.
Where did the
It was
That's true.
11.9%.
Because it takes 18 months.
It was very happy.
Red.
However,
Is
the router
working? I won the game.
You know, we don't know enough. We want to sit up front so they.
Okay, well, okay, now it wasn't turning on. Now I got it. Okay.
We're live right now.
I figured we were. Thank you. All right, everybody, welcome to the March 4th Board of Trustees meeting. Let us rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I will have Mr. Blinkoff lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And let's take a moment of silence to remember Rhoda Becker, who passed away very recently. Rhoda was a 50-year resident of Flower Hill. She was our village historian, chair of the Landmark Commission, past Board of Trustees. She was a past Board of Trustees member, Planning Board chairperson, and she was the first woman to serve on Flower Hill's Board of Trustees. Mitchell wrote a very nice long history report. I will be including that in our my mayor's newsletter. So let's have a moment of silence for Rhoda. All righty, thank you. I will, Ronnie, in memory of Rhoda, I think we're going to be planting a tree in the park.
Yes, when we talk about the Arbor Day resolution, we can set a date for our Arbor Day celebration, which will consist of a new tree in the park with a dedication to Rhoda. Instead of the tree giveaway this year.
Do you let her daughters know?
Oh, yeah,
Okay, good. I've seen them on the street. That's the only reason.
yeah, I'm in touch
Perfect.
with her daughter Becky.
Yes. I guess we'll start now with public comment. Mitchell seems to be full of cookies, so you have nothing to say, I guess.
Other than in Rhoda's memory, may everybody have chocolate and smile. Chocolate sounds all the world.
is that a motion?
All right, Ronnie, I will pass the ball over to you.
Okay, first order is a approval of the minutes of the February 5th, 2024 regular meeting. Can I have a motion? That's trustee Franco, and second,
I'll second.
I think trustee Dorf.
Oh, you got it, good.
Both from the Etuan, all in favor? Okay, and next, so we have the claims. Can I have a motion to approve the claims? First, I should ask, are there any questions?
As always, I have reviewed every single claim and signed off, as well as our village administrator, those people who are responsible for the bill, and our treasurer has reviewed everything as well. And everything seemed in perfect order, as it always is.
I do actually have one question.
Ooh.
I forgot to ask you earlier.
The answer is yes. If you're talking about one of Steve's bills,
Yes.
Peter will
You talked
address it.
about that? Yeah, okay,
Yes,
good.
Suzanne brought it up already, so
Awesome.
we'll address that.
Okay, so motion to approve the claims,
I'll make the motion.
and do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Collins, all in favor? No, we didn't pay your money this month.
Nice. They're not talking to me.
Okay, next is, anything new, Rich, going on?
Well, we're gonna talk about the trucks and, so basically, our most expensive truck, which is the big, truck, that one's in the shop right now, getting a couple of things, we're getting estimates.
Is that the international?
That's our second most expensive
Right.
truck.
Oh, yes,
Yes.
yes. But we don't know exactly what's wrong with it. That truck has been giving us a lot of problems. Randall, we were talking about if it's gonna be too expensive to repair, then possibility we might have to get another truck.
We will evaluate pending on the amount of work that's required to get this truck up and running to safely operate. And it is already, that truck is a 2009. It had an expected life, of 10 years, so we're well past the 10 years. So Rich has done a great job keeping all our trucks up and running. However, at some point, they just want to go. So hopefully the truck will survive, but we might need to replace it a lot earlier than we expected.
Just remember, I bought that truck. I mean, we went out to bid on that truck. Wow.
Probably you have bought,
Yesterday.
I would like to say you probably have bought every truck and vehicle based on when they were acquired.
Except for the backhoe, yeah.
That
Yeah,
predates you.
That was pre-existing.
That's 2000, I think, 1, something like that. 99.
Before me. Okay. Anything else going on?
No, I mean, you know,
Rich has been doing a great job with the park. He's been clearing out all the winter debris and we're re-landscaping some areas that have been very overgrown. It'll be too dark for you guys to see, but the first entrance to the park from here across from Village Hall, you couldn't see the park. So Rich removed all the larger shrubs and we will be replanting it with much smaller ones.
that's really,
Oh, tell us about the snow. Thank you for everything you guys did for the snow. I appreciate it.
really nothing crazy. I mean,
Well, you're still here
couple of inches
all
of
night
snow.
long.
I think we're done. I think we're, yeah. I mean, I hope we're done. I mean, we've had snow before March 20th, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Yeah.
The year I was aide to the Grand Marshal, 2007, we had a blizzard on March 16th. So
Still,
let's not jinx this whole thing over here.
Thank you.
But we are all very appreciative of you and your staff's attention to our roads. I don't think we got a single complaint, so thank you as always.
Next we have the Architectural Review Committee report by Mr. Albinski.
Yeah, good evening. This is February 26th, Architecture Review Committee. We have some returning applications, 12 Center Drive. That's for additional exterior alterations. There were some minor comments on that, and a couple windows, and that was approved with those conditions. 5 Knollwood Road, exterior alterations. The applicant last minute couldn't appear to that, but we did review it, had some comments, so that we return it to the next meeting. There was a follow-up on 77 Country Club Drive. They wanted to change the garage door color. That was not approved. From the zoning board, 16 Wood Valley, second story addition of the garage. A minor comment on that, and that was approved with that condition for your approval here. New applications, 20 Center Drive, a new single-family dwelling. We had a number of comments on that. I'll call minor, but they ended up to enough to bring them back for the next meeting. 69 Country Club Drive, additions and exterior alterations, sort of a makeover. The committee felt that whole design was not compatible with the street there, so that was not approved. They did since submit another follow-up, which has been distributed to the architecture review board members. And lastly, 126 Hemlock, additions and alterations. We had some specific clarifications, modifications to be done, and with those, it was approved with those conditions.
Thank you for the report. Is there anybody from the public with any questions on this? Any questions from any trustees? That being said, I would like to make a motion to accept the findings of the Architectural Review Committee.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Abstain. Ronnie, abstain.
I'm sorry?
Gary
Oh,
will
Gary,
abstain.
of course.
Now, because I wanted to let Peter be able to leave, I want to pivot now to the conversation on increasing our building and permitting fees, since Peter was very important in the whole process of this. I don't see the information I sent out to everybody in the board. Is it in the packet?
It's in the
Oh, it is
very
in
last
packet.
page.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I didn't attach it to email because they had just received it.
That's, okay, because I printed up anyway.
It's the
Okay,
last
good.
page.
I'm glad it's there. So, as I've discussed with a lot of you, the costs for almost everything we do in this village, our insurance costs, our salt costs, all the equipment, the repairs that we need to do to our equipment, our own maintenance, everything even down to the coffee creamer in Village Hall, all the costs are going up on everything. And this is not just the same for flour, it's the same for everything we all buy in our lives here. I think this village has done a very good job monitoring our expenses, doing more with less, and really trying to find as many cost savings as possible. We've babied all of our equipment, and we've held on to that equipment a lot longer than we probably should have, but that's because we do a really good job on maintaining our equipment. However, this year, we had large unanticipated expenses. Our heating system needed a repair this month. We needed to upgrade the cooling system here, that failed. We needed a new generator, which failed. We needed to replace our alarm panel, which failed. And again, a lot of maintenance, unexpected maintenance, way above budget on the highway department equipment. And of course, the security patrol. That's been costing us about $3,500 a week. And that was all unbudgeted. So we've really been using a lot of our current monies. I don't expect to have any surplus to pass over to next year. And we might be using some money from our reserves, because again, the security patrol is not forecasted, so we didn't really have any money accrued for it. So for 2024-25, which is the budget that we will approve in a month, we're gonna need more monies to replace our trucks. We have to replace one of the big mowers that we use in the park, because it's, the amount of repairs we would need to do to it, probably might as well buy a new one. And we're gonna have more expenses. Again, we gotta buy more salt and all the other types of things we do. Where does our money come from? Our money comes from two places. One, taxes, and two, our permit fees. And I really don't want to have to increase our taxes significantly. And the reason being, that affects everybody in the village, those people who have a lot, those people who don't. So it really leaves us down to the challenge of where else do we get revenue. Our second largest line item other than taxes are our permit fees. And it's been a very long time since we've had a major overhaul to our fees. And I created this nice comparison so you can see where we are compared to lots of other villages. And we are on the low end when it comes to a lot of the villages out there. And I think it's time for us to consider raising our building fees. And it's the only fair way to do this without affecting every single resident with a very large tax increase. The plan that I'm proposing here, which Peter was very significant in creating, it also simplifies how we do our permits, let's say on a big project. Before, it was a $500 permit, and it was 1% based on a certain dollar number that we predicted would cause the cost of construction, or at times the actual cost of construction. And that's not always an easy way to figure out what the actual is. Is it underreported? It's never overreported, but oftentimes it's underreported. And then we as our building department has to have that discussion with the builder and say, hey, listen, you're telling me that this is a $300,000 job. We know this is really a $400,000 job. So we worked to doing this on a square foot basis. So this number is kind of comparable to what Peter has seen in his other villages that he has, that he's implemented a very similar plan. And I didn't include the spreadsheet, but it's pretty, and I apologize, Peter made this really nice spreadsheet. So it's very easy to calculate everything for us not to make any errors, to be able to ensure we bring in the proper amount of revenue, and for our applicants to be able to know exactly what the fees are gonna cost. No, it's a worksheet that Peter has. That's just my comparison of what a typical fee would cost. So again, Ronnie, when was the last time we really raised our fees?
I'm gonna ask Peter, when did we go to that,
Well, yeah, I think we didn't change the percentage. I think we just-
impact fee.
we had the impact fee.
That was like 6 years ago.
And then, we did establish like a square foot number, but the
Right.
percentage was always the 1%.
It was 350, right? Wasn't it?
300.
300.
But as far as the base fees, I paid when I started here in 2008, they're the same.
So some of our fees haven't gone up. Like, I definitely want to increase our landscaper licensing fees. It won't happen this year because they've already all applied. So this will be for next year. But I think we're charging as low as $15 for each vehicle, which compared to every other village, that's like, that doesn't even get us back the money to have the labels that we put.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm looking to increase, again, all the fees for all types of constructions. And again, simplifying some of it for a finished basement, minor alteration, all with lower fees. And so, Frank, this is probably what you more want to look at. Because
This, I'm confused by this. $22,000 difference?
It's
Current
not
is
even, it's
500,
not only just the
proposed
building
is
permit fees, it's all other,
22,550.
like planning board fees, like,
It says new home, 4,200
filming
square feet.
fees, sign application fees, all that, I think down the whole
No, but
board.
on this one.
So that one I actually messed up the first one. So
Oh,
yeah, that I screwed it up. I've left out the first number, the current. Somehow that fell out of my spreadsheet. I must have
Yeah,
printed
it's
it
going
wrong.
from 500 to 22.
Yeah, no. And I apologize. I don't know what that is. I will. We're not voting on this today anyway, so I can fix that and resend it to you. But thank you for catching that. But our fees have been historically low. We've been doing it based on some formulation. Now Peter suggests we just do it based on X amount of dollars per square foot. So it's no more 1% of $300 for this and this and this. And it should make things, I think, a lot easier and simpler to
Yeah,
calculate.
the square foot numbers are right in the wheelhouse of most villages around. Your percentage based on, even a low square foot number, is only 1%. Most of the villages are 1.5%. So factored into that is, sort of an average square foot, which is like 350 square feet, foot times 1.5%. So and then what happens sometimes is people argue, well, my house didn't cost $300 a square foot. Some places are more. Now, this just puts $1 a square foot, so there's no math to do, another level of math to do, and there's no quibbling about what they paid, or, oh, my garage space only cost this much, but then their kitchens cost probably twice as much. So it's an average number just to establish a fee on what is the median of most villages around are in the exact same range.
Doesn't it get tricky though for alterations, Peter?
Well, I have a different number for alterations. I have a flat square foot number for alterations, but built in.
Counting square footage for alterations gets tricky.
Yeah, again, I do it based on plans, or sometimes follow up on, they started, ripping out other areas, so.
And you're talking square feet being just defined as built square feet, not FAR, any other variation of square feet,
The zoning, for a new house, I use the zoning square footage.
so not the basement?
If a finished basement, there's a number of finished basements also. If it's unfinished, it's not counted.
What's what number you use for renovation for square footage?
I think it's 200 times the 1.5%.
You want this?
No, it's okay.
It's your spreadsheet. Right, so new home,
What,
go ahead.
just curious, if we broke it down, I don't know, do we actually have a breakdown of all the separate categories you list here of what the revenue has been? I mean, presumably it's the building permits that, the basic construction permits that have been the biggest contributor to the revenue coming in on fees. Is that the
Yes.
correct statement?
That's a correct.
And then the rest of them kind of fall into very smaller proportions.
There's lots of things, obviously plumbing,
Right,
pods, dumpsters,
but that's a smaller portion of,
always smaller, because if we're only charging, if we did,
Well, plumbing permits are like a couple $100 for a typical,
Yeah.
I thought,
depending on how many fixtures.
So,
The other part of this is, Randall was saying is, I'm seeing a little bit of a downtick in, new projects, and I've heard that from some builders also. So, you know, we're gonna have the same expenses as the mayor said, and this is a way to sort of equalize them a little bit also.
I mean, it seems on a 4,200 square foot house, a $22,000 fee is a small percentage. You gotta figure a 4,200 square foot house is gonna cost you, what, $1.4 million to build?
Right.
So 22,000 against $1.4 million, that's not even, that's a
Yeah.
quarter of a percent. like
But
half a percent.
it was,
It's fair.
I think, it was undervalued.
It's like a quarter
but then you have to add the impact.
It's not very much.
You have
Well,
to add the impact.
true, but
Yeah.
we're not changing the impact fee. So in this
No, my
case,
point is that I think when we did impact fee, we wanted to make sure, yes, it was, it covered what it was supposed to cover, but that it didn't add up. The sum of doing a new house didn't add up to the point where it was getting to a ridiculous amount. So you get to do a new house, it's still a chunk of change.
Yeah.
When you add those two up.
it is. But we have a village to run also.
Yeah,
So
no,
it's,
I'm not disputing what you're trying to do here, I'm just trying to work out, like, where does it get level? And, you know, not overreach, but also not
So
to the
with-
point where we're.
So with the impact fee of 4,500, a 4,200 square foot house would be about $34,000 with building fee and impact, which is still,
It's still pretty good.
yeah, it's.
right.
Well, yeah, Gary, you know what the fees are in other places, you know.
Plus, I know what they are in San Juan. Our clients don't seem to care about it. That's okay. No, it's,
They have a village
look, I was one of the
center.
advocates of the impact fee years ago, because you see what, you know, even now on Bonnie Heights, like that construction by Manhasset Woods Road, I mean, you see the mess they've made of the roads and, it's like, you know, somebody's gotta fix it, so.
Well, that's what the impact fee is there for.
Well, I remember when we discussed it, and I was very supportive of it,
Every
because we
single-
should have it.
Every single house, the roads are torn up. And it kills me
Wow.
because on Ridge, where we just paved last year, we did it after they finished construction, but now they're doing all this work in the backyard with their septics or drywalls. You can see it's gouged already.
And the road openings too are done poorly. Whenever they do road openings, they do a
Right.
poor job of refilling them.
But, you know, that's why we're trying to, the impact fee is the impact fee. That's there to repave our roads, which is what it needs.
I'm surprised other villages haven't jumped on the impact fee bandwagon.
You have to ask them why they haven't. But I just want to focus on.
I've been
the
asked by
fees.
other villages like about it, and I said, no, we don't seem to get much pushback on it.
And again, that's why our roads are in good shape, because we have the monies usually for our roads, so that's why we do that. So we're not gonna vote on this tonight. This is something we're gonna introduce. We will have a budget meeting, which Ronnie will get to in a couple of weeks, our public budget presentation, and we will vote on the budget at the April meeting. And at that point, I'm hoping we will vote in favor of this, because I'm including these numbers in the budget that I'm working on, the.
Randall didn't have to go to resolution. Like, you don't have to propose this to the public and say, here's what we're gonna do.
No,
They don't vote on it, right?
no, well, the public doesn't vote on this, but.
Right.
This is part of our village code, so we're introducing this and we would vote on this at the next public meeting.
Gotcha.
If we want.
And there
to.
would be public comment.
Okay, that was my question.
Yes.
At what point is it?
This would be at the April meeting, that's when we will have our public hearing. But again, that last sheet that Frank caught my mistake, I was trying to figure out for comparison purposes here, for someone who doesn't know what a typical fee is, I was trying to compare the old versus the new, so that, because I didn't even know everything on this. So that's why I did it for this. And again, it's the typical expenses we get from various projects.
So I'd like to have ask someone to offer a resolution to hold a public hearing on April 1st.
I will make that motion because I'm the one who started this.
Okay, thank you. So it would be proposed local law C. And the motion
Who's
is
gonna
to hold
second
a
it?
public hearing on April 1st. And we have a motion by the mayor, and do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Lewandowski, all in favor?
Aye.
Any abstain or no? Okay, thanks.
I just think you gotta pay attention to these projections that construction may go down too, because we may want to raise some fees.
When is that gonna happen?
Money neutral. I don't know.
It hasn't happened in
On the revenue side of
60
the
years.
budget that I'm working on with Suzanne right now, I'm being very conservative on our building permit fee revenue expectations for 2024-25. It hurts me to do it, but I'm doing it because I just, based on input I get from Peter, it's something we should be prepared for. More money's coming, great, then we can use that to start replenishing our reserves.
Yeah.
But I'm working on a conservative cash flow budget this year.
I wish construction would come down. It never seems to. You know, it's like, it goes up and then the economy gets bad, it stays there, right? And it goes up and it's
Before you leave, Mr. Albinski, do you need to be here for the zoning?
Gary,
Do you want me to do zoning now, or you don't?
Yeah, because any.
Jeff, can we just change pace, can you do zoning report, and then I can let Mr. Albinski
I
leave?
submitted a written report to the board, just reviewing everything that happened, and if there are questions, I just pressed on the report.
I have no questions.
I know when we spoke about the fence, the gate permit on Stony Town, I told you that they have to come back, but after reading this report, they have to go to ARC.
Yes, Peter's aware of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
we had a discussion about it, I just wanted to clarify.
All right, so thank you, Peter, appreciate it, and thank you so much for all the help you've done on this huge project.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good thing to do.
Of course you think it's a good thing, you're the one who proposed it to me to help me work on it. If it wasn't you, I wouldn't be where I was. Thank you. All right, I give the floor back to Ms. Schatzkamer.
Okay, I know. Oh, my report, okay. First, I would like to introduce the annual Arbor Day resolution, proclaiming Arbor Day to be Friday, in the village of Flower Hill to be Friday, April 26th. In order to become a tree city, each year we have to pass this resolution, so that's why we do it every year, so we can retain our status. So let's get that out of the way. Would somebody like to offer the resolution?
I'll offer.
And second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And I know we have to consult with our village arborist, but as we said before, we'd like to plant a tree in honor or memory of Laura Becker. And I think that we would pick a location together with Ann, and then we have to figure out a date. I think April's probably too soon to plant a tree.
Well, end of April's not.
Yeah, so maybe we could do it on the Arbor Day, April
That might
26th.
work, actually, that's not too bad, actually.
that would be nice.
Yeah, so let's
So Ann, pick a tree, hopefully we can source that tree that it's available at that time frame and plan. Do our thing.
Okay, and does the board want to direct me to order a plaque in your memory?
Yes.
Directed.
Thank you.
We could direct you.
And 426.
Why don't we put it on straight this time?
Well, I'm not in charge of the mounting.
You have frost, it moved the rock. Rich is going to fix that, we've had some frost up
You
here.
got a jacket rock that has a flat face.
Put another little rock under it.
You have a rock that has a flat face.
Yeah.
It's because the rock is like.
Yeah, I'm like,
All right, Rich will fix the rocks, leave the guy alone. Ronnie, you want to?
Nature is not symmetrical.
square signs on a round pole. It's the same freaking thing.
Okay, we received a letter from the town of North Hempstead, and they asked for our approval for them to declare themselves the lead agency on a change of zone. The purpose of changing the zone is to permit certain activities of fire departments, including training, vehicle storage, maintenance, and the establishment of firehouses and EMS stations on properties larger than 10 acres. So if anybody has any objection, which this is pretty pro forma, otherwise we can let them know that we passed the motion or a resolution allowing them to declare themselves lead.
And what's this aerial photo? What is this?
I guess that is
The
the area.
That's the area involved, it's that residence district.
Yeah, you see, it's like, it says the AAA, that's the new name of the new zoning district.
You know what?
Zoning district. It's
I know why
that
they did that.
It's right by Boar Beach.
Huh?
All right,
And
I'll make the motion to approve this. Somebody want a second?
I'll second
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Mayor, your report?
All right, first thing is, our friends at NICOM asked us to pass a resolution calling for increase in AIM funding. The state has rarely increased AIM funding to the villages, and it is a small but important part of our revenue streams to us and all of the villages. So, as you saw, they haven't increased AIM funding in 15 years. So I think this is an important resolution to pass to show solidarity with all of our other villages, to hopefully convince our friends up in Albany, and I don't really think they're friends sometimes to villages, but to let them know we need these types of funds so we can continue to act as an effective village. So I will make that motion if someone would like to second it.
Second.
All in favor?
Since I'm on mayor's report, let's see. Rich and I attended the Nassau County Office of Emergency Management training, which was very good because we got to meet a couple of other villages and share some ideas and be prepared if the bad events of any weather type emergency occurs, we're ready to go. I attended the St. Francis Community Advisory Board, where they let us know all the great things that they are doing for the county. I attended the controllers improving the effectiveness of your claims audit process online training, and that was very good because I review all the disbursements every month. It was a very helpful class to help me look for things to make sure that everything is done properly. We had the mayor's meeting of all the peninsula mayors to get together to discuss common issues that are affecting us, including crime. We are hoping once again to have a meeting with Commissioner Ryder. The meeting that was supposed to happen a couple of weeks ago got canceled due to the commissioner's other commitments. And we're looking to meet with him again either the second or third week in March. We'll probably do it here. Let's see what else. I attended the Police Commissioners Community Council meeting where we discussed the issue with squatters and what we all can do to hopefully keep our residents safe from those types of situations occurring. Additionally, he addressed part of the crime that we've been having on the North Shore, and he let us know that they have caught quite a number of the bad guys and that they are in, I'll frame it the right way. He is confident that they will arrest the other people they're looking for in the very near future. And lastly,
Hey, Randall,
yes, ma'am.
so what's the plan from them to publicize that?
It'll be in the paper. I mean, they,
I
it's in
don't-
the paper
I
when
don't-
they caught the
I
guys
cannot
at
answer.
Manhasset train station.
Right.
Yeah, that was in the-
Agreement too.
Right.
I don't,
Lake Success was in the paper.
I didn't ask him. But I know the commissioner is very good when it comes to publicizing the things that they do to keep us safe. So I'm sure when he's ready to do that, that they will do that. And then lastly, I said to myself, hey, what's going on with the water district over here? So I dropped a note to the water district commissioner, and they just started excavating for shoring, and they're gonna do demo of the old well building. That's gonna take 2 weeks, and hopefully by the end of this month, they are going to do the forms for the new foundation. So the project is on schedule, and I asked the water commissioner to let us know if and when they are falling behind or anything with the schedule, so I can keep the residents up to date on that.
When's the projected completion?
And unfortunately, I don't remember that, Gary.
April 2025, they said.
Oh.
Around April of
Yeah.
2025. Give or take, as we told us.
It's gonna be a year
It
plus.
was 25.
Yeah.
And at that time, once
Corner's a mess.
at that time, then we will work with the water district to re-landscape the hill. We're not gonna touch the hill because there's something, I'm sure they'll do some damage to it. This was sort of-
How much is the impact, how much is the impact fee there?
Yeah,
Destroy
right.
the corner of Paul Washington Boulevard.
Right.
It's terrible with the parking and the trucks and,
Good thing we don't know Port Boulevard.
it's a bad intersection to do that kind of
It
work.
is very busy.
So since you had a question about squatters, so what's happening, luckily it hasn't happened yet. There are people, bad people, who are taking advantage of empty homes. They are either breaking in or gaining access somehow, and then they are producing potentially counterfeit leases, claiming that this is mine. And when they break in, they change the lock and say, look, officer, my keys work, and and they turn on the electricity, and they turn on the internet, and they turn on gas, and they get some mail delivered there, and they're like, listen, I live here. And so people who own houses, specifically bank, a lot of times this happens to banks. A bank has a problem that's a property that's in foreclosure, and they're not someone there every day. And unless neighbors say, hey, there's something wrong, and notify somebody, people will then take over a home, and the courts are very slow when it comes to evictions.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a property owner cannot, on their own, physically remove somebody from property.
Wild.
That's the way the courts work. I'm not gonna.
Gotcha.
They can do, it's just illegal.
And as the commissioner said, he said there have been instances where the homeowner, the property owner, has been arrested for doing these types of things to try to clear their property.
Isn't New York State great?
It's a wonderful state. So that's the answer to your question.
Depressing answer.
I've done a little bit of landlord tenant work, you can't get anywhere out of anything.
Right. Which is why we should all stay vigilant, and if we see a home that we know should be empty and it's not, there's a short window that I think it's like 30 days. Something has to happen that 30 windows before, in essence, they can establish some sort of residency.
For the town of North Hempstead, the guy had died, so there were no heirs to the home, so the house is,
That's the one that's just
In New
east of
Hyde
us.
Park.
Yes.
and so the house is empty because the guy died, and they don't have anybody, and so they just moved in, and it's like, you
And
know,
in that case, the bad guy claims that he has a lease from the deceased, who
Right.
died 6 years ago.
right,
And he's like, I have this new lease. Well, it's gotta work its way through the courts to decide if that's truly a
you know,
legitimate
they're
lease or
still
not.
there, and
Yes,
threatening the neighbors, like the neighbors are afraid of these people, it's bad.
which is that, and that's the example that the commissioner brought up. So we just need to keep an eye on our houses here to make sure that these things don't happen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Trustee reports?
Yes, Trustee
Trustee
Smith.
Smith.
All right, I gave you guys, one of the members of the Farm Hill Security Advisory Committee. We actually battled with our name for a little while, but that's what it's called. We had our first meeting, and one of the members was kind enough to put together this little outline for us. We adopted a mission statement, which is to adopt cost-effective security measures to preserve the quality of life at Flower Hill. As you can see from this little piece of paper, with our first meeting, I put together a very aggressive agenda, for good or for bad. So the meeting took about 2.5 hours. It was my intention never to let that happen again, but we covered a lot of ground. One of the things I wanted to do was to educate the members of the committee into our village in terms of population, where it is on the map. A lot of people are unfamiliar with the extent of the village, where it starts, where it ends, what we cover, what we don't cover, and things like that. So we kind of had a show and tell in the beginning to talk about that. We did an overview of the crime statistics in the village. Thank you for, Ronnie, thank you for getting me the crime reports for the last 5 years. One thing that was brought up, I could be mistaken, but the only incident that I'm aware of in the village since our last board meeting actually took place on my block, 2 houses away from me. Car was broken into, and I think everyone on the board saw that the people were later arrested very soon thereafter. The neighbor across the street reported it, and the police apprehended them at the train station.
Well, before you continue, so I checked when I read about it the next day, I checked our security patrol, I'll call it the log, and see, we have our report of where the car was. The car was there, I think it was a half hour or an hour before.
Yeah, I
I
think
think it was an hour, either an hour or a half hour, I apologize. Before, we can't be everywhere all the time. So we were patrolling, we were nearby, obviously the bad people waited for the nice car to drive away and then decided to do their crime when no one was watching.
I think they just got lucky and then unlucky.
Yeah,
Can we confirm if the car was left unlocked or not?
my wife was engaged in several conversations with our neighbors, and the impression I got was that they broke a window in the car. But it's interesting because the person who had it happen is a relatively new neighbor, and the person across the street who called the police is also a relatively new neighbor. And they sort of have how do I say this politely? They both kind of just moved into the neighborhood, but they've also, like, people don't know them very well. So it's kind of interesting that the two of them were the two that engaged in this event, if you will. But, congrats to my one neighbor for seeing it and actually calling the police. And I do think that, I do want to make the point that a few months ago, I think it's honest to say that this neighborhood was not considered a neighborhood where the police had much concerns, because frankly, nothing was going on. And this board and the citizens of the community who showed up to some of these meetings kind of educated the police that they need to pay more attention to this neighborhood. And partially because of that, the police reacted very quickly to this and actually made an arrest. So this goes back to one of the things our committee talked about, which is, it goes back to what came up in some of these public hearings. It's not enough to just say, well, I got robbed, and they're not going to do anything about it. Things have to get reported. The police have to be made aware of this stuff. You can't just let it go by the wayside. And if you report it to the police and they don't come to take a report, you can't just stop at that. You got to come tell us. Somebody's got to do something about that, because otherwise nobody's paying attention to what's going on here. And it seems to me, at least, that since somebody actually started to pay attention to our village, we really haven't had any incidents. I mean, we've had one, and we actually caught the person. So, and I think, the patrol's a nice thing too, but I really think it's more that the police were alerted to a concern and they responded to it.
Right.
And to good effect, which again is why we pay taxes to pay for the Nassau County Police Department. You were kind enough to show everybody the map of where the patrol car has been. We actually have a tracker on the car. So the map was displayed to everybody of all the ground that the vehicle covers on a nightly basis.
Which, for the record, they're averaging like 100 miles a night.
Yeah, and it's not that big of a village.
Wow.
We
Yeah,
get 10.7 miles of roads,
20.
and they're,
Square.
oh, sorry,
Like 10.
no, it's 10.7
Yes.
miles,
It's,
10.7 road miles.
right,
Yes.
How long is one loop, if you will?
they vary the
Time.
loops.
It varies. They don't, so they're doing irregular and constant patrols. So they don't follow the same route, the same night, different nights. It's random driving to keep
So there's
anybody.
not
who's-
really a loop, it's a.
How do they know where they've been and where they haven't been? Do they have like a GPS thing inside the car because how do they remember, like, did I go down the street, did I go down that street?
They have a, we get the GPS report. I don't believe that they're looking.
Because it looks like, when you look at the GPS report, it looks like they've covered almost every street, but if they're doing it randomly, how do they remember, like, did I go down Cherrywood already 3
You know,
times?
you know what, we also get this report that is like a chronological order of where they are.
Right.
And it does kind of, they really are not like, just driving around in circles.
They must have a
And
system.
you know what, I'd be happy, I'll send a couple of reports to the
You
board,
have to remember,
just so you know, complete reports, you can see that they're really, have been everywhere.
current or former police
Yeah, they
officers.
must have a system.
They,
must know how to- yeah.
and some of them have worked here in the 60s before, so they kind of know our neighborhood.
But what you had mentioned earlier about, you know, the guys see the yellow lights and then they wait till they pass and then they break into a car.
Couldn't happen.
Yeah, maybe the car shouldn't have lights on it. Maybe it should be like a stealth black car with like flat slats.
Well, I think part of what we're trying to do is discourage crime. We're not trying to catch people.
No lights.
They're not there to catch people. They're there to keep people out of the village, if that makes any sense. Because frankly, if they saw somebody breaking into the car, the best they would have done was what my neighbor did, which was call the cops.
Right.
And it would have been the same result. You know, so I think the reason the yellow lights are effective, or the reason to continue with that, is that you're trying to show people that somebody's actually actively patrolling.
I think
You're
it's
not trying-
more show than it is.
Right, you're not
effective.
trying to do an undercover thing, what you're really trying to do is to show a presence. And that to me is the point of it. And again, we can go in different directions, that's what I think the point of that is. One of the members of the committee said that they are trying to put together something called the Flower Hill East Civic Association, and that they were going to form this association. Part of what they've already done is they have their own car doing patrols in that part of the neighborhood. And the impression he received is that other parts of our village may do that.
I heard that a resident on the west side of the boulevard is looking to potentially recreate the same patrol in their side, but we haven't heard any other information.
Because ironically, the night
Unless
of
Trustee Dorfman knows something that I don't. Okay.
the night of our meeting was the third night of the patrol that they had set up for their own little portion of the community. And the member of the committee was actually going on the patrol because after 2 nights, people in that area of the community were claiming that they didn't see the patrol, so they were getting angry. So he took it upon himself to go with their vehicle out on patrol. And that was one of the reasons the meeting, thank God, we had a reason to break it up because he had to go and get in the car and go on the patrol with respect to that. So I'll know more about that because we're going to meet again this month. But I think it's interesting that they have done this kind of self-help thing, and they are setting up this Flower Hill East Civic Association, and the suggestion is other portions of the community may try to do something similar.
And I welcome it, if other people want to do that, God bless them.
Well, I think it's terrific too, because it allows a group of neighbors to come together and then essentially appoint a point person, but now you're not just talking to a neighbor, you're talking to somebody who has more tentacles to reach out to more people. You know, everything has to be taken with a grain of salt, but at least something like that, you're not just dealing with one person per se, but you're really representing, somebody's representing other people. The Port Washington Police thing came up, we've talked about that kind of a lot up here, but really it's not a short-term solution. To get involved in that is going to take a lot of mechanisms.
Would you like me to comment on that right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. So Frank and I met with the entire board, all the commissioners. We met with the chief. We met with lots of people with lots of stars on their lapels. And listen, it's something that there is possibly an opportunity for us to work with the Port Washington Police Department. But there's some major hurdles. And hurdle number one is they don't have the building space currently to add any new officers. And I think the number they said was like 15 or 17 officers, Frank, to effectively have 24-hour coverage of this village and the proper supervisory staff and places to put the vehicles. So what they need to do before they can even consider this is they need to secure and build that new facility.
Well, they secured it, they were starting to mark out today, the demoing buildings next week, so this construction is gonna start
So
relatively soon.
that's a possible 2-year.
Yeah.
It's gonna take 2 years.
But I think the promising news was that when we did the math, I think once we factored in what we paid to Nassau County Police, if that comes off the table,
Well,
the
let me
different.
get down a little bit.
It's not as bad as we thought,
It
yeah.
actually is. So,
It's bad, but
no,
it's bad.
it's not great. So the first thing is they need to wait at least 2 years in order, until that building is
Right.
completed, there's nowhere for these officers to muster from, so that's 2 years out. The other thing is, if we were to vote to do this, they need a minimum 10-year commitment. So it's not like something we do with the patrol now. We can say we look at this from a month-to-month basis, we decide if we have the funds for it. This is something that this village would have to commit to for 10 solid years.
They're gonna hire people and then, they
Correct.
can't just, they're police officers, they can't just say, we don't need you anymore.
Right. Now, so we're talking about the monies. So I was doing some calculations, and thank you, Mary Jo, for helping me out with this. There are 2 taxes. If you look at your tax bill, there's 2 line items for police. One is the county police levy, and for everyone in this village, that's $3.8 million. Additionally, we all collectively pay something called a headquarters tax. And everyone who's served by either Port Washington Police District, Lake Success Police District, Sands Point, all the other smaller police forces, that not NCPD, still pay something called a headquarters tax. That collectively for us is $2.6 million. So we would still pay as taxpayers in our general tax bill. We would still pay collectively that $2.6 million. However, that $3.8 million would no longer funnel towards the NCPD. That would be monies that could then go to the PWPD. And I don't know how much it costs to hire 15 to 17 officers, pension costs, all the equipment they're gonna need, vehicles, the headquarter space that they're gonna use. I suspect it's significantly higher than the 3.8 million. Now, they haven't given us a price quote yet, they haven't given us an estimate. It's like I'm buying a truck here. And that's gonna take them a while to do, but there is some interest on their end. And again, but they need to understand what's going to happen with the building. Additionally, if we were to join with them, they need to change the charter. And that could be a 2-year process alone, because not only do they have to change the charter, but I believe it has to go up to Albany. And Albany, the legislature has to vote on
They're a
that
police
change.
district.
Yeah.
They're the only police district,
In the
I
entire
think,
state.
in New York State, right?
Yep.
So,
The
yeah.
entire one of them.
Yeah.
So that has to be approved by the legislature. So let's say we all wanted to do it, there could be the opportunity the legislature says, no, we don't want to approve it. So there's a lot of hurdles. It's something Frank and I will continually talk to the police, the PWPD about, but it's not something that's going to happen instantaneously for this village. This is going to be a very long-term project if it's something we want to continue to work on. It's something that the PWPD wants to continue to work on. So that's my update on that. Back to you, AJ.
Okay, like I said, this meeting took 2.5, so this report's unfortunately a little lengthy. We talked a lot about communication, about how we need to kind of communicate some of these things, including things like I just talked about. We have to communicate to the community that they have to report crimes. They can't just not tell these things. There's talk of creating some kind of community email list or something like that. We went back and forth with the social media stuff, because a lot of times that just becomes kind of stupid, because people turn everything into something that it's not, and who's going to monitor that every day? I mean, that becomes really problematical. But we are going to, that's something that it was later in the meeting. We're not done talking about it, but it was discussed. Then we talked about things like license plate readers, and we kind of wondered whether or not we could possibly, well, I think what we really talked about towards the end of the meeting was potential things that could be done that we could partially or completely get paid for with grants. And if that was the case, then it's not costing us anything up front. It would be maintenance costs and things like that, but these would be the types of things we want to look at. I think we were all here when the commissioner was here, and he talked about how we can actually tie our license plate readers into the county's database, we can either sell them to the county and let them take care of them, which creates the problem that we would have to rely on them to maintain them. Or we can just share our data with respect to them. But that seems like something that, although it's not going to really affect the types of crimes that we've been talking about over the last few months, because most of these crimes are being done in stolen vehicles. So identifying who they are, but it is a safety feature, and it is something that perhaps can be implemented at relatively little cost to the village and can create some value for us. One of the big discussions too was an understanding that you don't need one on every block. You need them at choke points, because people either have to come in or they have to go out, so you don't need 100 of them. And then the mayor showed everyone the street sign that talked about the patrol going on in the community. And I saw that sign go up near my house, and now it's not up there anymore, so I'd love to know what happens to that.
That block is known for people removing signs because they
Oh,
don't
yeah,
like them on their lawn.
they don't like, no parking, they always take them down.
Rich, can you go and see if our sign is missing?
Right where right where my house, that block where it ends, and I border the unincorporated section. My wife took a picture of the sign when I was away one weekend, and when I came home, it wasn't there anymore.
They probably took it down, yeah. I'll take a look.
I do have a sign collection.
Your block is known for
No,
that.
I'm just kidding.
Your block is known for that. They're taking down signs all the time on your block.
Yeah.
Was they taking down the Mason Drive sign?
Ironic.
Yeah.
It might be time to get the trail cam out. Do a
Yeah,
state.
no, because it was like a white sign with blue lettering. Right?
Yes, and it cost us a lot of money. Those were custom signs. So I'd like to thank your neighbors for taking
A
those.
little electrical, hook it up to the electrical line.
Great idea.
All right, David.
And just to conclude, the other thing we obviously talked about is we want to do educational stuff. We should include stuff, personal things like ring cameras, things like that, to educate people on how they can protect their own individual homes. They're not cost items to us, but, to remind
Deterrence.
people to do things for themselves, for their own houses, and the like. So it shouldn't just be the thought that everything this committee is going to communicate about is things like patrols and things like that, but also educational stuff for homeowners and things like that.
Thank you. Now, I want to bring up the subject of the patrol itself, because I sent everybody an email, and I only got one response from, I believe, Mr. Smith. The security company was looking to do something, they call it a directed patrol, where what they wanted to do is park the vehicle in specific areas, and would change all the time to have I'll say a visible presence in key areas. Maybe one would be, let's say, on Port Washington Boulevard, so that bad people would see this vehicle, lights on. It might give them the idea to go somewhere else. Personally, I don't like that idea. I would rather have the vehicle driving all the time. But Ronnie and I spoke with the company. I said we would entertain the idea, and I will speak to my board. If anybody wants, I'm not going to necessarily take a vote, but I'd like to hear people's opinion if we want to continue the way it is, where it's a continuing mobile patrol, or we're okay with them parking for certain periods of time to be determined in key areas, doing a directed parking patrol. So I don't know what people's opinions on that are.
I guess it depends on, I wouldn't do Port Washington Boulevard because there's always yellow lights.
I leave it up to them.
But maybe like Center Drive, like sit at Center Drive for, a half hour, or then maybe on Country Club for a half hour. It's like the areas that come right off of the main thoroughfares where we think people could be entering the village.
I don't know. From my perspective, I would rather have them driving around doing what they need to do. Because then they're here, you're gonna get the inevitable phone call from someone who says, oh my God, the car was in front of my house.
And the lights are keeping me up.
The lights are bothering me, blah, blah, blah. Because I've gotten a couple of
We've got that
calls
from
about that.
the other patrol.
Guys
People
fall
complained to
asleep.
me that the lights were bothering them, because they were
That's
parked
the
in
other thing.
one spot for a long time.
The people who hired the patrol by themselves.
Well,
sometimes
I don't
they
wanna
light
talk about,
as
I don't
well.
wanna talk about the other patrol.
I'm just saying
That's their
that-
business.
People find the yellow lights in their window annoying. That's what I was told.
So I don't
They
know.
hired them, so.
If there's no objection, I'd rather have them keep the same patrol and I'll let them know accordingly tomorrow.
Do we disavow ourselves from this private security patrols? Like, if there's a problem and they call us, is our response like, we know? Shouldn't it be a point person in these
Well, then, you
new
know what,
civic associations?
So no, we have a point person
So
there,
that's the
Yes,
person
that's
who people
exactly
should
what-
contact if they have a complaint.
and that's what we have.
we refer them to,
Because not everybody realizes who live there, that not everybody's contributing to that,
Right.
the safe group. And so they think it's us and they call us and we surround them that it's not. And they should call their representative and we let them know who that person is. And they've been working it out. I think that's fine what's been going on there. Other than that one person that hasn't been too many issues. So, thank you, AJ. At least I got my word on security patrol. And is there any other trustee reports? No, wonderful.
okay,
That's fine.
move on?
Yep.
Okay, so we have in the past couple of months discussed two new local laws. One was local law A about fences that are bordering on Northern Boulevard, and we wanted to include that in our fence code. And the other was the revamping of the tree code. So I'm asking for a resolution to hold a public hearing on those two laws on April 1st.
And we agreed we would wait to save money on the transcriptions. And since we have to have we're having the public hearing for the
budget.
organizational meeting and the budget, let's consolidate and save a couple of bucks. So I'll make the motion to hold the public hearing for those two local laws in addition to the other stuff we're going to be discussing.
Okay, do I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is a resolution to hold a special meeting for the presentation of the 24-25 tentative budget. And that's where Suzanne and I present the budget to you guys and answer any questions. Now, we came up with a tentative
Yeah,
date.
you pick the date, don't you have it?
What was it, Suzanne?
26th? March 26th?
March 26th.
At 6 p.m. We're trying to do it early, which I know possibly is a problem for Trustee Smith.
It's a problem for me too.
We don't, Frank, I'll talk to your boss.
I could be there at 6:30.
Well, let me talk to your boss.
No, I have a Uber school.
Yeah, I can do 6:15, 6:30.
I was gonna say, I was gonna talk to your boss, if that's okay. Let him
I'm on
know.
Uber school patrol, but I could be here by 6:30.
All right, 6:30. Does that work for the majority of people here?
March 26th.
March 26th. Are you out of town, AJ?
6 p.m.
Okay. 6:30. As long as I have a quorum.
Well, you can start at 6 then, if you have enough, and I'll just join.
No, because there'll be discussion.
Okay.
This meeting could go quickly, it could go long. There might be lots of questions, so let's do it 6:30.
Okay, will somebody make that resolution?
Frank will.
I'll make the resolution.
Can I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Uh,
And next is a resolution to hold the annual village organizational meeting and the 2024-25 budget hearing on April 1st.
Which is our next board meeting, so I'll make that motion.
And do I have a second?
Mr. Frank.
Mr. Frankel, all in favor? And
Before we get to item 4, you left out one of the most important things on this agenda. Ron, which will be on March 19th, is Village Election Day.
Oh, God.
All
From
right.
6 a.m. to 9 p.m., polls will be open. Please come and vote. And if you need to do we have early voting this year, which is new, or absentee, I recommend everyone contacts the village administrator and they can get those documents processed pretty quickly.
Yes.
Item 4, tax cap. So, I don't know if it's something we're going to need to do to Pierce, but Ms. Suzanne, what is our tax cap right now?
2%?
Is it 2%?
2%.
Can you find out if it is 2 or 2.3% for us?
Yes, but I can't find out right this second.
No, I mean, it'd be soon, because we were
Yes,
talking about this a
yes,
couple days ago. Depending on what we hope to accomplish in 24-25 financially. And again, with the proposed increase in our building fees and with the potential for less revenue coming in due to less construction possibly going on that Mr. Albinski has noted, we might need to raise taxes more than the tax cap. So I can't tell you that yet. I wanted just to let everybody know that's a discussion we will have to have at possibly the March, whatever, sorry, 26th? March 26th presentation of the budget to the trustees. We would not vote on it then. That would actually be voted on the April 1st meeting, but I just wanted to give everybody a heads up, depending on what we decide to do with expenses and what we decide to do with our revenues, we might need to raise our taxes more than the tax cap. And I can't tell you what that number will be yet until we finalize what's going on. We're still trying to get some quotes again on the truck, that which you might need to repair or replace and things like that. So we need to know what we're going to
We
do.
have to pass a resolution that we may possibly override the tax cap
We do that at the time that we,
at the.
you can do it, as long as you do it before you pass the budget, you can do it, let's resolve to,
Right.
pierce the cap, and then the next resolution is to
I just want
approve
to
the
throw it
budget.
out there for everyone to be aware of. We're doing the best we can to do the most we can with the least amount of increasing fees and taxes, et cetera. But it might be necessary. I mean, there's only so much money that we can bring in. We need to take care of everything that makes this village hall run, and it's very special to everybody.
Just as a side note, some things like the fire, amount that we bill on the tax, the fire is not included in the tax cap. So there are certain deductions,
Right. That's separate because
right,
one of our fire districts, the tax is going up, and one of them it's actually going down. But that's not part of this tax cap. That's something we don't have control of. There's no other
You're right.
points of issue here. I will make a motion to go into executive session to discuss some employee matters. Do I have a second?
Second.
all in favor?
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Rich, for turning off the computer. Yeah.